All right, we'll go ahead and get started. As we have in the past, after a win, we've got our players of the game. So just to identify them here at this point, offensively, we had three players of the game. Wayne Beadle, senior receiver, had 5 receptions, 38 yards, blocked extremely well. A couple of those catches were for huge third down conversions. And certainly proud of the way Wayne's been performing, having stepped in for Daniel Spencer at the H position. Our center, Bryce Redman, one of Bryce's better games since he's been in our program. Graded out 95%, had a technique grade of 90%, and obviously was a big part of us being able to rush for 217 yards. And then running back Kenneth Farrow, third 100-yard rushing game of the season. Had 22 carries, 112 yards, a rushing touchdown, a receiving touchdown, and really ran the ball well. On defense, our player of the game was Ephraim Oliphant. Had 8 tackles, tackle for loss, quarterback hit, quarterback sack, and a forced fumble. Ephraim seems like he's putting up those kind of numbers and that kind of production week in and week out, and certainly proud of the way he played last week. And then on special teams, we had 5 kickoffs, and Luke Stice was our special teams player of the week. He had 4 tackles, all coming on kickoff coverage. So he prepared extremely well, and he's been a leader for us in the kicking game, and again had one of his better games of his career. Our scout players of the week, scout offense was offensive lineman Hank Granda. Scout defense was defensive lineman Zarel Ezel. And scout special teams player of the week was Kalik Kukuma. So, as I look back on this game, probably one of the more complete team wins I've been around in a long time. And what I mean by that is what we talked about last week, and I even said this publicly, what we felt like we had to do to go down to Tampa and come away with a win. I felt like we did. And really 3 things. 1, not turn the ball over. 2, have better field position in a kicking game. And the third thing we had to do was eliminate penalties. And the first one's obvious. We did not turn the football over on offense. Was our number one goal. The second thing was special teams, and we've been improving on special teams the last few games. And our average field position after our special teams plays was our own 31-yard line, and South Florida's average starting field position was their own 23-yard line. So that's 8 yards difference, and that's extremely significant when you talk about running our offense out on the field, having to go on average 69 yards to score a touchdown, and running our defense on the field and making South Florida have to go almost 80 yards against our defense. So we got that accomplished, again, in a significant way. And then the third thing was penalties. We had 1 penalty in the game for 5 yards. It was on our opening drive, and thought our young men did a great job in those 3 areas. When you break it down, again, talking about this being a complete win defensively, again, I think I've said this in the past, our goals are to have less than 10 missed tackles and less than 10 missed assignments. We had 6 missed tackles, again, against a very athletic South Florida offense. And we had 2 missed assignments, which is a low for the season for us. So, to hold that offense to 222 total yards and only 3 points, I thought our defense played extremely well. And then offensively, I think we did a great job at halftime making adjustments. Other than when we got the ball back with 2 minutes left in the game and we put our backups in just to run out the clock. We had the ball, we had 3 possessions offensively in the second half. On all 3 possessions, we scored touchdowns. In the second half, as far as we look at it, and I'll explain this more here in a second, on third downs, we were 8 for 8 on third down conversions in the second half. And on paper, the statistics show up 7 for 8. And the reason we're looking at it a little bit differently is twice in this game, I communicated to Coach Bush on a first down in the red zone that this would be what we call 4-down territory. We had 4 downs to get the first down. We were not going to kick a field goal in 2 specific areas in that game. And so on our third and medium calls, we ran the football to set us up for a fourth and short, and we converted both fourth downs. So I think as a whole, we were 9 of 16 on third downs. When you look at the 2 fourth down conversions off of those, for everything that's important to us, being setting up fourth down with the third down call, instead of 9 of 16, it could have been 11 of 16. And we actually converted a third and long where we had an inadvertent whistle and we had a do-over, and we didn't get it. So, again, I was proud of the way we made adjustments at halftime, and proud of the way we continue to make halftime adjustments. David pointed out to me so far this season, in the second half, we're outscoring our opponents 118-46, and I think that speaks volumes to the job we're doing as a staff and our halftime adjustments, and certainly I think it goes without saying the shape our student athletes are in physically. So we turn our sights to a talented, a young, talented Tulane team. You put the video on, and they play extremely hard, and they're extremely well coached. They've got tremendous skilled players, especially at the running back position, and a young quarterback in Tanner Lee, who I think has got tremendous upside. He's only a redshirt freshman, can make every throw, one of the stronger arms I've seen on video this season. And defensively, in the last 3 games, they've created 10 turnovers. They're going to be very aggressive. They're going to play more man coverage than anyone will face all season. So, like I've said in the weeks past, and like I'll continue to say, it'll be about us, our execution, and certainly taking care of the football. Glad to be back home. Glad it's going to be back in TDECU Stadium. It'll be fun. It'll be homecoming and afternoon kickoff. Weather should be beautiful, and looking forward to Saturday. Any questions? Well, I think our execution was outstanding offensively this last game, and we were able to run the ball extremely well. We made a couple of adjustments at halftime with a motion, adding a motion to a run that we didn't really call much of in the first half, and I felt like because of what they were showing, South Florida changed some things up defensively off of what they had shown coming into our game. They made some adjustments going into the game, so we had to adjust at halftime. I thought their offense, huddling, trying to run the football, trying to keep our defense on the field a little bit longer, keep our offense off, but getting down and coming away with 7, I think, is huge. And there were 22 and 23 mile-an-hour winds, which was they were affecting some throws. They were certainly affecting some kicks. Marvin Klaas, their kicker, rarely misses, and he attempted a 42-yarder that came up short, and you never see that from him. So that was a factor, and in the game in terms of what we were calling offensively, and so to be able to get down in the red zone and not have it be really a secret, if you will, that we're going to try to run the football in and then be successful doing it, I think really gave our guys a lot of confidence. And I think our offensive line, this is, we've played 8 games now. We've got 7 consecutive games with the same 5 young men starting at the same 5 positions, and they're playing better each and every week.
Talk a little bit about Kenneth Farrell and what he means to the team and how he's played all season, especially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the question's about Kenneth Farrell, and the first thing I'm going to say is a year ago he was elected captain as a sophomore, so he's got a chance now that he's only a junior to leave here a year from now as a 3-time captain, which I think first and foremost speaks volumes about the young man and what his teammates think of him. I said going into this season, a lot of our success would be determined by keeping Kenneth Farrell and Ryan Jackson healthy and being able to establish the run. And again, I think we're getting more confident there. I think our offensive line's doing a great job. We had no holding calls this past game, whether it was the offensive line or at the receiver position. And I think what you're seeing right now from Kenneth Farrell is he's running as hard as he's ever run. He's a tough young man to begin with, which I've talked in the past about how he not only plays running back for us but plays on special teams as well. But he's really, both he and Ryan Jackson are as confident in themselves and in our offensive line and in themselves making plays as they've been since they've been a part of our program. And they're breaking tackles, they're getting the ball upfield. I know you asked me about Kenneth, but Ryan Jackson on his last touchdown made a couple guys miss, broke a tackle, and even in weeks past, the tackle he broke, he might not have broken it a couple weeks ago. So they're playing at a very, very high level right now, and I'm really proud of the way they're preparing each week for the games, and I think the success you're seeing them having in the games is a direct reflection of how they're preparing during the week.
If you look at their stats, they're pretty similar as far as, yards per carry and things like that. Even, I think it goes up the same number of receptions, 16, but they're so different in their running styles, correct?
They are different, and they're, I think Ryan Jackson, again, I've said this before, is one of the most explosive young men we have in our program. I think he's one of the most explosive young men in the league. I mean, if he gets daylight, I don't think anyone's going to catch him. And not that I think someone's going to catch Kenneth Farrow, but Farrow's 215 pounds, Ryan's more around the 190. They both have great ball skills, and for us, they're interchangeable. We rotate them by series. And at times there'll be a certain play we want Ryan in for, or Kenneth in for, but I think they're great. I think they complement each other. Again, someone's thrown out the last year or two, thunder and lightning, and again, I think it keeps defenses off balance based on which one of them's in. I think it keeps them off balance if they're both in the game, which we do at times.
I'm thinking that one of Jackson's touchdowns, Farrell was the lead blocker.
That's exactly right. So we had 3rd down and goal from the 1-yard line. We had tried to run it up the middle twice. South Florida had a goal line package in there with 5 defensive linemen and 4 linebackers, and we made the decision on 3rd down to go outside with it, put in our 3-back set, and Farrow had a big-time block on the edge to let Ryan really walk in.
How much does it help defense being able to control the ball with the running game like it did the past few weeks?
I think it's huge for our defense. And again, you look back a couple weeks ago, we played Temple, very talented team. Had a big win this weekend, and we're able to have our defense only play 17 minutes in that game because our offense had the ball for 43 minutes. I think in this past game, I want to say we controlled the clock for about 33 minutes, and I've made, I haven't kept this a secret. I mean, we've been banged up a little bit defensively, and the loss of Derek Matthews and the loss of Lee Hightower, and Trayvon Stewart's been nicked up and played a limited role against South Florida. So to be able to keep them fresh, and it's a combination of 2 things. 1, we're controlling the clock better than we ever have offensively, and 2, our defense gets a lot of 3 and outs also. So, it's I think it does help. And again, in years past, with the type of offense we run, we've had the ball and gone 3 and out with 3 incomplete passes and taken 19 seconds off the clock, and by the time the defense sits down from the previous series, we're yelling for the punt team in the box, and they're back up getting ready to go back out there. So I think it has helped, and again, I think our plan going in this past week in terms of all 3 phases, that was a big part of it.
Home game against Tulane this week, going into a bye. Talk about carrying that momentum that you've got going right now into next week and for the rest of the year.
Well, I think carrying the momentum back home is how I'm looking at it more than anything. I think we've won a few games in a row now. I think we're establishing some things offensively that we hadn't established early in the season. I think our defense is continuing to play at the same level they have throughout the whole year. And I think it's a great time to have a homecoming game in the afternoon back at TDECU Stadium. Beyond that, again, I appreciate your question, but in terms of bye weeks and the rest of the season, we're not looking past Saturday afternoon. So I think for the way we've performed the last few weeks and the outcomes we've gotten, I think it's good to be back home and have a game in our stadium.
Coach, at the halfway point of the conference, there's a log jam in first place, and you're one of the 5 teams at first place. You got to like where you're at right now. What do you
Well, I think it's turnover margin. If you ask me the difference in the last couple of games, the last 3 games, which we have won, we've turned the ball over on offense 2 times. And in the last 2 games, we have not turned the football over. Both those turnovers came against Memphis, an interception and a fumble. And defensively, we're continuing to take the football away. Now, in this last game, we only took it away once, and it was at the end of the game. But we had our opportunities, and we're playing extremely well on that side of the football. So, again, I think regardless of who you play, and I'm going to say this, I don't know it for sure, but I want to say, East Carolina lost this week, and I want to say they fumbled the ball 5 times. I mean, if you turn the football over in the game of football, you got a great chance to lose. And if you ask me what's been the difference the last couple of games in terms of winning, it's been turnover margin. We're not turning it over on offense, and we're continuing to get turnovers defensively.
Is that something that the players talk a lot about the turnover streak? Is it something that, obviously, I know you guys take a lot of pride in, is it something you guys, the players that they really talk about it, let's keep this thing going each week?
No, I mean, our guys are aware of the streak, and just because it's been on social media and after the game, after every win, I recognize in the locker room some young men in our program that statistically played well, and I mentioned Adrian McDonald's interception keeping or pushing the streak now to 31 games. But are they walking to class during the day talking about, hey, let's keep the streak alive? They're not. We're going to go out this afternoon in full pads and practice for 2 hours, and you're going to see Adrian McDonald flying around trying to punch footballs out, and Trayvon Stewart trying to strip footballs, and that's just how we practice. We had some balls on the ground against South Florida, and we didn't come up with them, and then we got the interception, the last defensive play of the game. So we didn't. It's not on our minds. It's something we've grown accustomed to, and again, that's something we're going to try to go out Saturday afternoon and create turnovers in the game again.
When you look at Tulane, what are some of the unique challenges they present?
Well, I think as I mentioned a little bit earlier, that's unique is defensively they're gonna get up in your face and play man coverage, and we do that some, but I haven't seen it. This Tulane will play more man coverage than any team we face all season, and you don't see it a whole lot in college football. And I give them a lot of credit; they play great defense. And again, when you're able to play man coverage like that, it's no coincidence that in the last 3 games you forced 10 turnovers. So in 8 games, they have I think 6 of their 8 games are multi-turnover games for them. And so they're an aggressive defense. They've got a very, very active defensive line. And offensively, I think they do a great job in terms of their play calling. And you try to zero in on a coordinator and get a good feel for his personality, and they do a great job, I think, keeping defenses off balance when they call their screens on down and distance and personnel groupings. And then again, Tanner Lee, he gets the ball in his hand, quick release. He's 6'4", 220 pounds, and they throw the ball down the field extremely well. So. This is they present a lot of challenges for you in all 3 phases.
And with Greg Ward, I know you've been asked a lot about his progression, but like you said, with the weather conditions on the road, young quarterback, he's 15 and 19. Not his number, not called a lot, but he's able to be efficient, not turn the ball over. How big is that?
It was huge, and again, 15 and 19. I want to say that's 79% completion. Coming off the game the week before with 88% completion, not turning the football over. The wind was a factor as well. The wind was a factor on a couple of his throws, and the wind was a factor in terms of our play calling. If you weren't at the game, you couldn't appreciate how hard the wind was blowing in the field and swirling, and the flags. I don't know if they showed it on TV, but the flags above Raymond James Stadium were it was incredible. So, I think when we talk offensively and we talk to our team as a whole on what we need to do, and the number one goal, meaning not turn the football over, I don't think. I'm going to phrase it this way. Greg's not playing not to make a mistake, certainly, but he's being very smart with his decision-making, who to throw it to, when to throw it, when to tuck it and run. And again, I was proud of his performance again. All right, thank you.